Hey, what's up? It's Vince Leah from VinceLeah.com, and today I'm hanging out with my friend Jovanka Ciares.
That's me.
And Jovanka, you have a really interesting story of why you went vegan and started eating more plant-based foods, and it's something that I really wanted to share with everyone. So what caused you to look at more plant-based and vegan options, and kind of what led you to the path you're on right now?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, first of all. And hi, everybody. So yeah, I'm from Puerto Rico, and I grew up eating pork chops, and I love them. I still do. I don't eat them, but I kind of miss them. And I got very sick. When I was in my late 20s, I got endometriosis and something called fibroids, which are like these big benign tumors that grow in your uterus. And they were like the size of my fist. Like one of them was the size of a tennis ball. And unfortunately, doctors didn't have any solutions other than surgery. And I was like, I'm not interested in doing that just yet. So I was looking for alternatives, and I started recognizing that some of the foods that I was eating was causing potentially some of this to grow and some of the symptoms. So a lot of the symptoms including severe pain, a lot of bleeding, just feeling like looking like I was 5 months pregnant the entire time. And mind you, I'm 115 pounds, so these things were like ridiculous. And I started realizing that things like dairy and smaller animals like chicken and eggs were so pumped with kind of crap that caused my hormonal system to go out of whack. And that went on for years and years, and eventually my body started developing these diseases, these conditions. So I started learning and finding about all these other doctors, all these physicians and scientists that were talking about the plant-based diet, and they were not even calling it vegan at the time. They were talking about whole foods, plant-based. And I was like, okay, let me see if there's other doctors that are talking about other kinds of stuff, right? Because I wasn't ready emotionally to get rid of my chicken. But I couldn't find any other doctors. It was either Atkins or a bunch of other physicians talking about veganism. Nobody was in between. But what I learned was so incredible that I decided to start using my own body as a guinea pig and started experimenting with reducing dairy first, then chicken and eggs, and then eventually my body started to feel better and better. And I was like, oh my God.
Did the tumors actually get smaller?
Yeah, the tumors actually got smaller. It was a combination of things, not just the diet. It was also a lot of other holistic treatments that I involved myself with, including herbalism. Mm-hmm. And it took a few years of experimentation, and eventually I was like, oh my God, I feel so much better than I did when I was 19. There might be some truth to this.
Wow. So when you switched over to having more plants, was it difficult for you?
Well, more plants was not the problem, because I loved plants, right? Like, you know, I'm from the Caribbean, right? Like, I love fruit. That was not hard for me to do. It was a matter of leaving the meat that was hard, because I loved the taste of it. Yeah. Chicken wasn't too hard, because then once I realized what was in the chicken, I got grossed out by it pretty quickly. Things like beef and pork took a little while longer, because I grew up with it. It was kind of like part of my microbiome, if you will, my soul. And I didn't know what to substitute it with. Yeah. Once I realized that there's so many other things that I wasn't enjoying, plants that I wasn't enjoying, then I realized, like, my diet is pretty limited. If all I do is steaks and pork chops, you know, and maybe some salads, that's a pretty limited diet. But then once I started doing like root vegetables and like sea plants and vegetables that I've never even heard of, I was like,
there's a whole new world out here.
This stuff is kind of sexy.
So how long before you really started noticing an impact on how you were feeling? Like, did it take a few weeks, months? Because I know you said it took really a few years before everything kind of went down, but when did you start noticing it actually like having an effect on your body?
Well, it depends. Like things like dairy, for example, which was the first thing I left, I noticed a difference in a matter of 48 hours.
Wow.
I was everybody around me was getting sick. That winter, I did not get sick. I was living in New York City at the time. I was always like had a runny nose, was always kind of half congested, was always a little constipated. And as soon as I dropped dairy, I started to notice that I could go to the bathroom easily. And I would wake up in the morning and I wasn't congested. And I started journaling because I was like, maybe it's just me, maybe it's because I'm hot and that's what's happening when you're hot. Or maybe it's just the dairy. So I started, journaling, and I brought back the dairy and then took it back out. And that's when I really realized,
oh, wow,
there's something to this, right? So it's very important for people to use the information that their bodies are giving them.
Yeah.
Don't just listen to us and believe us. Just try it and you'll realize it.
Because everything, sometimes it works for one, may not work for the other.
Absolutely.
As well. Now, you mentioned too herbalism, that you're into that. And that's something I actually wanted to talk to you about as well, because as many of you know, I've shared my journey about having colitis.
Yeah.
And that's the reason I went plant-based and really started transitioning when I started transitioning to a vegan diet. And same thing, giving up dairy, then going to chicken, and then going to meat, and then the natural transition where fish was the last thing I was eating.
Yeah.
Fish was the last animal
Same
product.
thing. Same thing here.
It's like, I'm not giving up fish, I need the protein. But, and I've discussed, sometimes I do have a flare. And I do watch what I eat, and I'm actually just kind of like on the last stages of a flare right now, where I think it wasn't necessarily, I know it wasn't the food I was eating, but it was necessarily caused by stress.
Yeah.
So I've been doing a lot of stuff, self-healing stuff, where I'm doing more meditation.
Yeah.
I'm getting into more yoga. I'm going on walks. I'm doing stuff to relax my mind, to reduce my stress.
Right.
But herbalism is something that is intriguing to me.
Yeah.
And I kind of told you what I was going through, but can you give us a background about your studies on herbalism and how it can help people and what it can achieve as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm an integrative herbalist, and what that means is that people come to me and say, like Vince, I have a problem with colitis. Can you help? And I will sit down with him and write down the entire health history, look at his personality traits, his emotional home, and put together a picture of this human, right? This amazing human in front of you. And then based on that, you work with the plants that have immense medicinal properties. So I love plants for many reasons, but the main ones are because we use them every day. Every day. If you've had cinnamon tea, if you've had any kind of tea, you've practiced herbalism. And we have used plants. Every culture in the world has used plants to help heal. From the beginning, since humans were humans, we've been using plants to help us heal. So in my own journey towards healing, I started to discover these plants and realize that they have very little side effects. Most of us can benefit, the vast majority of us can benefit from them, and they're fast acting. And in this society where we need things to happen like
instant
that,
gratification,
right, they are amazing. So it's really great to combine them and put together a little protocol, a plan for you to look and to incorporate, not just with your foods and with your holistic practice, but with your plants as well, like whether it is in teas or in tinctures or whatever other form you might want to take them, and try them for a few weeks, see how they're helping. If they're not helping, it doesn't matter, because if 2 of them won't help, there's a dozen others that have the same actions and will be just as effective.
Now, so I went through this health assessment.
Yeah.
And you have a list of foods to eat and foods
Yeah.
to avoid. And I'm not totally surprised. Most of the foods I eat and most of the foods avoid were on your list.
Yeah.
So that's not going to be too much of a challenge. But there are a couple herbs on there that you recommended I start taking that I'm not currently taking.
Yes.
So can we get into those herbs right now and kind of talk about how I should anticipate them reacting and affecting my body?
Yeah. So there's a couple of them that I'm specifically recommending to Vince, and then there's a couple of others that are things that you are very much familiar with. So for example, the ones that I'm recommending to Vince for his condition are ginkgo biloba, which is a type of, it's kind of like in the same family of ginseng. And it's a root, and it's the plants are well known to help calm the central nervous system, which affect our digestive tract.
Yeah.
And the other one is called Boswellia. It's complicated. Boswellia is a plant that has been studied and has been shown that helps reduce the inflammatory response in the bowel. So we know that when we use it for a relatively medium amount of time, you won't start noticing the difference in 2 days. Like, for example, with things like ashwagandha, which we will notice the difference almost immediately within the hour. Things like Boswellia will take probably up to 2 to 3 weeks for you to notice, oh my God, I'm feeling like I'm definitely out of this.
Yeah.
What's beautiful about these plants is that they're so mild that it's not like you're going to solve one problem and cause 3 others. You're going to naturally ease into a state of balance, and then you're going to stop using them. But now that you know that they're going to be really effective for you, when and if you have another flare, you immediately start taking them, and it might shorten the duration of that flare.
Okay.
So they're there to help you restore balance. That's how they help the healing process.
And I like how they also affect and so they calm some of the nervous system.
Right.
Because I think anxiety is something that...
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, the nervous system, like you said, it lives in the gut.
Right.
So when, I know for me, like I internalize a lot of stuff. When I get stressful, it immediately goes to my gut.
Absolutely.
So no matter what I'm eating, that stress is going to overtake it.
Correct.
So I'm going to go ahead and start incorporating these into my diet and see
so
what happens.
awesome. You totally should. They're amazing.
So I'm looking forward to it. Well, thanks for joining me today, Jovanka.
Oh my God, it's such a pleasure. We're here in this beautiful place. I love it. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. And I'll go ahead and make sure you follow her on all her social media as well as her YouTube channel. I'll link all that information in the description box below. And if you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel as I post new videos every week. And remember to keep living fit from food. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.